Do not try to speak perfect English in your next job interview. If you try to speak perfect English, you will fail. I know this sounds crazy, but speaking perfect English is actually a terrible mistake. Let me tell you why. When you try to be perfect, you sound like a robot. Managers do not want to hire a robot. Managers want to hire a real, friendly human being. They want someone who smiles, makes small mistakes, and acts natural. Today, I'm going to teach you how to pass any English job interview. You do not need big words. You do not need perfect grammar. You just need a completely new mindset. My name is David, and I want to tell you a true story. It is a story about the biggest failure of my life, and it is a story about how that failure taught me a great secret. 3 years ago, I moved to a big city. I wanted to find a good job in an office. I found a job online that looked amazing. It was a job at a very famous company. I sent my resume, and they called me for an interview. I was very happy, but I was also very afraid. I knew my English was not perfect. I had a strong accent, and I sometimes forgot grammar rules. I thought the managers would laugh at me. I thought I had to sound like a smart university professor. So, I made a very bad plan. I wrote down long, difficult answers on a piece of paper. I used the biggest, hardest words I could find in the dictionary. I memorized every single sentence. I practiced in front of my mirror for 5 days. I did not practice talking. I practiced acting like a perfect machine. On the day of the interview, I woke up very early. I put on my best clothes. I took the bus to the tall office building. I walked into the big waiting room. My heart was beating like a loud drum. My hands were very wet and cold. I kept repeating my perfect sentences in my head. Finally, a man called my name. His name was Richard. He was the big boss of the company. He did not smile very much. He asked me to sit down in a chair in front of his big desk. "Hello, David," Richard said. "Tell me about yourself." This was the first question. I was ready. I opened my mouth to say my perfect, memorized answer. I started to speak very fast. I am an advanced professional seeking to utilize my extensive background. Then, a terrible thing happened. I forgot the next word. My brain completely stopped working because I was trying to remember a memorized speech. I could not just speak naturally. When I lost one word, I lost the whole sentence. I sat there in total silence. I looked at Richard. Richard looked at me. The room was completely quiet. I could hear the clock on the wall. Tick, tock, tick, tock. My face felt very hot. My face turned completely red. I tried to find the big words in my head, but they were gone. I was so scared that I also forgot my simple words. I forgot how to say basic things. I sat in silence for a very long time. Finally, Richard sighed. He looked at his paper. "Okay, David," he said. "Let's try another question." He asked me about my old job, but my confidence was already dead. I was shaking with fear. I gave very short, very bad answers. I said I am sorry many times. I said my English is bad 3 times. When the interview finished, I ran out of the building. I walked to the bus stop and started to cry. I cried because I felt completely stupid. I knew I did not get the job. I thought I would never get a good job in this country. I went home and stayed in my bed for 2 days. A few days later, I met a woman named Maria. Maria was a very successful manager at a different company. She was a friend of my older brother. I told Maria my sad story. I told her how I forgot my big words. I told her how I sat in silence and ruined the interview. Maria listened to me very carefully. She did not laugh at me. She smiled, a very kind, warm smile. "David," she said, "you made a very common mistake. You thought the interview was an English test, but it is not an English test. An interview is just a conversation to see if we like you. I looked at her, feeling confused. But Maria, I said, I need to sound professional. I need big words to look smart. Maria shook her head. No, David, you are completely wrong. Big words do not make you look smart. Big words make you look confusing. When you use big words that you do not understand, you sound fake. You sound like you are reading a book, not talking to a person. Managers do not want to hire a book. Managers want to hire a person. Maria looked at me very seriously. I am going to teach you 3 simple rules, she said. These 3 rules will help you pass any interview. You do not need to learn any new vocabulary. You just need to use the simple words you already know. I took a pen and a piece of paper. I was ready to learn her secrets. Here are the 3 rules that Maria taught me. These are the rules that changed my life. Rule number 1. The 10-year-old rule. Maria told me that I must speak very simply. When you go to an interview, imagine the manager is a 10-year-old child. She said, I do not mean that the manager is stupid. I mean that you must explain things clearly and simply. Do not use difficult business words. Use simple action words. If you fixed a problem, just say, I fixed a big problem. Do not say, I resolved a complex issue. If you helped a customer, just say, I made the customer happy. Do not say, I improved customer satisfaction. When you speak simply, the manager understands you instantly. They do not have to think hard to understand your meaning. They just listen to your story. When you use simple words, you make fewer grammar mistakes. When you make fewer mistakes, you feel more confident. It is a beautiful circle of success. Rule number 2, the water bottle trick. This rule is the best secret for nervous people. Maria told me to always bring a bottle of water to an interview. Not coffee, not tea. A simple bottle of water with a cap. When the manager asks you a difficult question, you will feel panic. She said, your brain will want to answer immediately. If you answer immediately, you will make a mistake. You must force your brain to slow down. When they ask a hard question, do not speak. Reach down and pick up your water bottle. Slowly open the cap. Take a slow, small drink of water. Slowly close the cap. Put the bottle back down on the table. Then, look at the manager. Smile. And speak. I asked Maria why this was so important. Because it gives you 5 free seconds to think. She explained, it gives your brain time to translate the question. It gives you time to find a simple story in your memory. And most importantly, it makes you look very calm. When you take a drink of water, you look like a confident boss. You look like a person who is in control of the room. I thought about my bad interview with Richard. If I had a water bottle, I could have stopped the silence. I could have taken a drink and calmed my fast heart. Rule number 3, the honest. This is the rule that scares people the most. What happens when the manager asks a question and you do not know the answer? What happens if they use a word you do not understand? Most people panic. They try to guess the answer, and they say something very stupid, or they sit in silence and look terrified. Maria told me to never guess and never stay silent. Honesty is the most attractive thing in a worker. She said, if you do not understand a word, just ask. Smile and say, I am sorry. Could you explain that word in a simple way? The manager will respect you for asking. It shows that you want to learn and that you are careful. If they ask you a question about a skill you do not have, tell the truth. Do not lie. Look them in the eye and say, I do not have experience with that yet, but I am a very fast learner, and I will work hard to learn it quickly. Managers love that answer. We can teach you a new skill, but we cannot teach you how to be honest. I wrote down all of Maria's rules. They were so simple, but they made so much sense. I realized that my English was not the problem. My fear and my pride were the problems. I wanted to look perfect, and that made me fail. For the next 2 weeks, I practiced Maria's rules. I threw away my long list of big dictionary words. I stopped practicing in front of the mirror like a robot. I just practiced talking out loud about my past jobs using simple words. I practiced holding a water bottle. I practiced taking a slow drink before I answered a question. I practiced saying, "I do not know, but I can learn." I felt my fear slowly leaving my body. I felt like a normal person again. Then, I got another phone call. It was for an interview at a new, growing company. It was a very good job. On the morning of the interview, I woke up feeling different. I was still a little bit nervous, but I was not terrified. I put on my clean clothes. I bought a bottle of water at the store. I walked into the office building. I sat in the waiting room and took deep, slow breaths. A man called my name. His name was Thomas. He was the manager of the team. He smiled and asked me to come into his office. I walked in, smiled back, and shook his hand. I sat down and put my water bottle on the table. "Hello, David," Thomas said. "Tell me about yourself." I did not panic. I did not try to remember a long, complex speech. I just used the 10-year-old rule. I have lived in this city for 3 years. I said simply, in my last job, I worked in a store. I helped customers find what they needed. I worked very hard to make sure the store was clean and organized. Now, I want to bring my hard work to your company. Thomas nodded his head. He looked interested. He understood exactly what I said. My answer was short, true, and easy to hear. Then, Thomas asked a harder question. "Tell me about a time you had a big problem with a coworker," he said. "How did you fix it?" My heart beat a little faster. I wanted to rush and speak immediately, but I remembered rule number 2. I reached out and picked up my water bottle. I slowly opened the cap. I took a slow drink of water. I closed the cap and put the bottle down. During those 5 seconds, my brain found a simple memory. I looked at Thomas and smiled. In my last job, a coworker was always late. I said simply, because he was late, I had to do extra work. I was feeling angry, but I did not yell at him. One day, after work, I asked him to drink coffee with me. I asked him why he was late. He told me he had a problem with his car. I told him that I could drive him to work in the morning. We started driving together, and he was never late again. We became good friends. Thomas smiled, very big. "That is a great story. David," he said, "you solved the problem with kindness, not anger." I felt a warm feeling in my chest. I was succeeding. I was using simple words, and it was working perfectly. The interview continued for another 20 minutes. I answered every question calmly and simply. If I made a small grammar mistake, I did not stop. I did not say I am sorry. I just kept smiling and talking. Then, Thomas asked me a question I did not expect. "David, what software programs do you use for data analysis?" Data analysis. I knew what data was, but I did not know how to analyze it with software. I had never used any special computer programs for that. My old self would have panicked. My old self would have lied and said some random computer words. But I remembered. Rule number 3. The honest I don't know. I looked Thomas in the eye. I did not look down. "Thomas, I will be honest with you," I said clearly. "I do not have experience with data analysis software yet. In my last job, we did not use those programs, but I know how to use a computer very well. I am a very fast learner. If you show me how to use the software, I will learn it in 1 week. I promise I will work hard to learn it quickly." Thomas did not look angry. He did not look disappointed. He actually looked very happy. I appreciate your honesty. David, he said, software is easy to teach. A good attitude is impossible to teach. You have a very good attitude. The interview finished. I stood up, shook his hand, and walked out. I did not run to the bus stop in tears. I walked down the street feeling very proud of myself. I was proud because I was honest. I was proud because I communicated clearly. I was proud because I did not try to be a fake robot. 2 days later, my phone rang. It was Thomas. He offered me the job. He told me that he interviewed 10 other people. He said the other people used very big words and sounded like robots. He said he chose me because I was natural, clear, and honest. That simple interview changed my life. I still work at that company today. I am very happy. And my English gets better every day. So, if you are listening to this right now, please hear my advice. If you have an interview tomorrow, do not read a dictionary tonight. Do not try to memorize big, complicated sentences. You will only hurt yourself. When you walk into that room, remember my 3 rules. First, use the 10-year-old rule. Speak clearly and simply. Use basic action verbs. Tell simple stories about your past work. Do not try to sound like a professor. Just try to sound like a good, friendly person. Second, use the water bottle trick. Never forget to bring water. When the fear comes, take a drink. Give your brain 5 seconds of peace. Control the speed of the conversation. Do not let the fear push you to speak too fast. Third, use the honest, I don't know. Never lie about your skills. Never guess the meaning of a word you do not know. Ask for help with a smile. Admit your weak points. But promise to learn fast. Honesty will make the manager trust you. And trust is the only reason people give you a job. You are very brave for doing an interview in a second language. Most people in the world cannot even speak a second language. You are already doing something amazing. Do not let bad grammar stop your dreams. Do not let a foreign accent make you feel small. Your accent is beautiful. It shows that you have traveled and worked hard. You already have all the simple words you need inside your brain. Trust your simple words. Trust your own honest story. Walk into that room. Put your water bottle on the table. And just be yourself. You are going to do a wonderful job. I believe in you completely. Now, go and get that job.